such a mellow beat there getting us into another day of inside coverage here on Yahoo. Hello, friends. Thanks for joining us here. That is Jori Epstein. My name is Andrew Siciliano. Day 2 at the Super Bowl, a day in which Scott Hanson will be on the set. It'll be the live Spider-Man meme coming up in about 20 minutes. Olympic Gold Zone brother, Red Zone brother, but that is in 20 minutes. Here, today, yours truly and Jori, inside coverage, reunited on the road. It is good to see you.
Andrew, it's great to see you, and it's great to not be in freezing New York while you're telling us I'm at my sunny home office in California.
I'm heading back east tomorrow, so I'm going to go right back into the polar vortex. You're getting up and running every morning, are you not?
Not every morning, but we've got some runs out here. We got one hike in. We're doing it.
You got a hike in?
Yeah.
Seriously?
Yeah, on Sunday before everything got crazy, the Dipsy Trail.
So your Super Bowl Bay Area experience has been good so far.
It has. I mean, San Jose is not San Francisco, and you got to get back and forth each day, but that's what working on shuttles and hotspots are for. So I will say opening night last night was by far the best opening night I've been to. I've been doing this since 2018 season, 2019, like early 2019 Super Bowl, and not being surrounded by fans screaming, loud music, dark, and strobe lights. I was like, I can hear people I'm interviewing. This is crazy.
It's crazy, and it reminded me of the opening night back, or when it was media day, like on a Tuesday afternoon at the stadium in the middle of the afternoon, many years ago. I also had some comments from people on TV saying, like, it sounds dead. There's nobody in there. Like, there's no energy because you're not at an arena with people in the upper deck or the mezzanine screaming and yelling. To your point, you could actually work.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because initially I somehow ended up in the wrong entrance, and I was where the teams are rather than where the media were. And so, like,
on the hotel side,
fans, the corner of the fans were just like all in front of me, and I'm like, oh my gosh, where are we even supposed to ask them questions? I just see these mass amounts of people, and then the Patriots started going off the stage, and I'm like, well, I need to go where they're going, so I guess I'll just walk with them. And there's like one guy who's kind of giving me eyes, like not like a player, but just like, are you supposed to be here? And I was like, I'm just going to pretend I am because I know we're getting to the same place. It opens up. The fans stayed there. We were able to work. And I'm like, great for sourcing. It was great for interviews. It was great. I could find people. It was wonderful.
When in doubt, walk with a purpose at any of these things. It also helps, like, if you put, like, you can go buy one of these on eBay or Amazon or whatever. You put one of these in, you clip it to the back of your suit, and then you just walk with a purpose, like you know where you're going. It helps to have a credential as well. I'm not suggesting you should crash gates. Don't, NFL, come back at me. But just generally speaking in life, wear an IFB and walk with a purpose, and you can get to where you want to be. We'll break down Media Night coming up in a little bit. I want to get, however, to what happened before Media Night. Same building, down in San Jose. It is what is known as the Rodgers State of the League, the commissioner's address, which he does now every Monday at the Super Bowl. Rodger Goodell does 4 or 5 press conferences a year. At each of the league meetings, there's the annual meeting at the end of March. This one is going to be in Arizona this year. Last year, it was in Florida, and that's always a big deal. But the one at the Super Bowl is the biggest of the big deals, and you get all kinds of questions, the serious ones and some of the low-hanging fruit as well. I want to start with the 18-game season. So Jori, by the way, was there. Charles Robinson was there. The 18-game season, we kind of assume it's a given for the 2029 TV deal. And a couple of weeks ago, Patriots owner Robert Kraft said the loud part out loud, or the quiet part, rather, out loud. And that is, there is an assumption that by the time we get to the new CBA and the new TV deals, every team will play one game overseas every year, and that at 9:30 Eastern time, this is what I believe will happen, there will be an international television package with a streamer and 16 of those international games. That's part of it. But Rodger kind of, I don't want to say push back against the 18-game season, but I think he was politically a little softer on it yesterday.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Robert Kraft said out loud, as you mentioned, the quiet part, which is that the owners expect this, and it's more a matter of how and when than whether we will see an 18-game regular season in the NFL with 2 preseason games and the 16 abroad, meaning that every team would play 1 game a year overseas. Or I should say abroad, because Mexico City is back in the lineup this year, we learned. I think what's interesting is that Rodger Goodell, after kind of like hinting at that, and it wasn't always in a formal press conference. I mean, this started when he was on the Pat McAfee show at the draft a couple years ago, having this conversation. And this time he said, look, we haven't had formal conversations about an 18-game season. We haven't really had many informal conversations, and that is not a given. And then, of course, you fast forward to Tuesday morning when the NFLPA is talking, and they're saying, look, we are against an 18-game season. We don't want to entertain it. That's not a casual idea, and it's not what our membership wants. And so to me, there's kind of this idea of it's probably still happening. I'm not saying whether I want that for the players. It doesn't really matter whether we want it. I think what is true is that historically the NFL has a lot more leverage than the NFLPA because there are 32 owners or 31 plus the Packers group. They generally want the same thing. The NFLPA's constituents are thousands, and they have different goals because some of them are stars making 50, 60 million a year. Other of them are lucky if they can get a year or two in the league. And so they're not all going to want the same things. But I think that the point is, as the NFLPA works towards a more stable, permanent solution to the head of their leadership after the shakeup in the fall, and right now they have an interim director until the spring, the NFL is not trying to get ahead of the skis and say, this is happening and we're going to strong arm you into it publicly. Publicly, they're saying, well, when your new leadership gets in, let's have a conversation. We want to talk, but you let us know when you're ready.
You read it the same way, though, right? Like when he said it is not a given, I'm like, okay, that's kind of...
It's
That's kind of an offering. It's posturing.
Yeah.
We know the PA speaking tomorrow. We're not going to come out here on a Monday night and say, oh, yeah, we're going to 18 guys, one way or the other.
Yeah, no, I definitely think so. And look, it's not like the NFL is just being calm on all of this. They filed a grievance over the NFLPA surveying their players about working conditions. That is still an active concern of the PAs, and they're trying to figure out what to do with that or what will be ruled on that. So by no means is the NFL just saying clear the way, but they're saying right now on the 18 games, we don't want to give you something that you can take and run with it and mobilize your players. If anything, Andrew, I think that's kind of the underlying goal here is the less the PA has to mobilize their players angrily against the NFL, the harder a time they will have drawing up support to really go against that 18.
And that NFLPA survey, which always comes out of the combine, in Denver last week, ownership flat out said, hey, we're improving our locker room. And they've been redoing Dove Valley, their training facility. There's a whole new addition being put up there. Last year at training camp, it was well under construction. We're changing it because we're listening to the feedback from our players in that survey, anonymous or otherwise. So as much as the league pushes back against it, and some owners, Woody Johnson notably, have been angrily against it, others have said, all right, we'll listen and we'll make changes. So in the end, it's probably been a positive thing. As for the TV deals, again, these answers are well thought out before the Monday Super Bowl press conference. Rodger Goodell is not going in there flat-footed. Right. He didn't say no to reopening the television deals, but he did speak about the possibility of reaching a bigger and a younger and a more international audience. When Netflix had the Black Friday game, that thing went to 200 different countries. That's where you need to be thinking because that's where the NFL TV deals are going, specifically in that international audience. You also asked, and you're writing about on the Yahoo NFL page this morning, everyone should go read it, great piece, about the Rooney Rule. What did the commissioners say?
Yeah, you're looking at this cycle where of the 10 coaching openings this year, and again, technically the Raiders have not made official their hiring of Seahawks offensive coordinator Clint Kubiak. That'll become official after the Super Bowl.
But John Schneider basically confirmed it yesterday.
Yeah, it's fully expected. So if you take that, of 10 hirings this year, 0 of them went to black head coaches, 9 of them went to white head coaches, and then Robert Saleh, formerly the head coach of the New York Jets, is Lebanese American. Now, a year ago, we had 7 openings, one of which, Aaron Glenn with the New York Jets, went to a black head coach. And so no one is saying that talented white head coaches or talented white coaches generally should not get head coach openings. But when you have a league that's 70% black and you have a league that has previously stated its commitment to diversity, to elevating talented minorities, recognizing there's a historical problem where talented minorities are not getting the same opportunities and the same leash to go chase those opportunities as their talented white counterparts, you got to say, well, 1 out of 17 hires the last 2 years, 0 out of 10. We went from having, I believe it's going to be 9 minority coaches to 7 to 5, 7 black head coaches 2 years ago to 5, and now 3. And so I think you have to ask yourself, and what I asked Rodger Goodell was, for several years now, we had this accelerator program for talented, diverse candidates. And so they would say, okay, if you are a minority candidate, whether that was female, whether that was racially diverse, and you are on the coaching pipeline at one part of the year, the front office pipeline on the other, we're going to give you professional development. We're going to allow you to network with each other, and we're going to give you basically a happy hour with ownership, because if the idea is ownership isn't going to hire someone they're not comfortable with, and there was a belief that they were more intuitively or inherently comfortable with people who looked like them, and the ownership looks white, then how do you get them in the building? Well, the week of this accelerator program last year in May, right after Rodger Goodell at Super Bowl week had said, we are consistently committed to our diversity efforts, despite the Trump administration not having interest in that. Well, the week of it, all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, it's not happening. It was on the calendar for the league. They say it's postponed. I would argue that something that is on the calendar and doesn't happen sounds more canceled than postponed. And then right after that, you have this trend. And so I asked Rodger Goodell, do you see a connection between essentially canceling the accelerator program and then black coaches not being hired at all and 9 of the coaches being white? And if not, why not? And he said, no, he doesn't. He thinks that that did not have an impact on the coaching trends, but he does think that they need to continue to evaluate the program. And I'll end by saying that I think the accelerator program in some form will come back, but I don't expect it to come back with fully minority candidates. I think that there will be a mix of talented candidates. Some will be racially diverse, some will be diversity in gender. And I think that the idea will be, oh, well, if you can network with other candidates who are white who might get jobs, then you can kind of build these alliances together. I do think the league has to decide, though, like, are we just not committed to this diversity in hiring, particularly at the coach and GM levels?
When you wrote this piece and you talked to people around the league, what was the reaction you got as to how these numbers came in this year with 10 openings and who did get hired?
Yeah, I think there's embarrassment from some. I think there's frustration from others. On one hand, you've got this Rooney Rule that's requiring a certain number of interviews and even in-person interviews of diverse candidates for the head coaching role, for the GM role, for offensive coordinator, quarterbacks coach. But I've also talked to candidates who have been in those interviews, and they're like, they kind of knew who they were going with. And it's frustrating because if you are a talented minority candidate, you go into this interview sometimes knowing like, hey, they're not even really thinking of me for this job because they're more thinking of me to check their box. And so they're kind of like already put you in this box of you are serving a different purpose than leading my team. I'm not saying all ownership leads like that, and I'm not saying that no minority candidates are getting legitimate interviews, but I do think for years now, and I talked to candidates who felt that this year, or it's, hey, you can come in, but you can't really bring your staff with you, which is like if you're a coordinator, head coach, historically you get to hire your own staff. And so I think that they really need to consider as a league, are these rules best benefiting the candidates? Are these rules best benefiting the teams? Rodger Goodell argues yes. He argued it pretty strongly yesterday. I don't think the candidates would agree with that.
Because there was a question, do you think that teams are checking a box, that they're making a mockery of the process with some of these interviews? You can argue some are and some are not, obviously, and I'm not in the room. You know, there are others that are obviously legitimate. Brown's ownership meeting with Nate Scheelhaus for 8.5 hours last Monday in Los Angeles. That was not merely checking a box. They flew out there, and he was a very serious candidate. But others, considering you have to do the Zoom, the virtual interviews first, and then do your 2 in-person interviews, sometimes I got the feeling this year that the Zooms are the Zooms. I mean, some teams interview 20 people on Zoom.
Right.
Of all shapes and sizes and colors, but that when you got to the second week, if they knew who they were doing, those second week in-person interviews, some of them you're like, really?
Right. And there are some candidates for whom this is a great opportunity, but I've talked to candidates and they kind of say, look, if you haven't had an interview before, take it. It's a good experience. You'll learn from it. If you have, though, then you have to start sorting through, is this legitimate? Is this actually going to help me? Is this going to be a connection down the road? And if not, should I just not take the interview? And we have seen some candidates turn it down. So I'm not suggesting I have the perfect answers here, but I do think that the current system is not serving its purpose from a results standpoint. And I think that from a process standpoint as well, there are candidates seriously questioning whether the league and the teams are doing this with good faith.
Yeah, and I remember a couple of years ago sitting on the NFL Network desk with Steve Wyche and Leslie Frazier, who was then trying the TV thing. Right now, he's actually here. He's an assistant head coach with Mike McDonald with the Seahawks, and he told the story live on TV. Said, I haven't really told this story before about he was in an interview a long time ago, and he went, after 5 minutes, I realized, okay, this is not real. And he said, I will not take another one that's not real. Leslie last year did sit down and interview with the Cowboys. Again, he was with the Seahawks. They ended up going with Brian Schottenheimer. it's tricky. I can't imagine what it's like to walk in those shoes. Leslie's obviously been a head coach before. He would love another shot. It's tougher for older coaches in general. The Browns just hired a head coach, getting back to them, that is turning 60 this week.
Right.
So, as he said, hell, I'm not getting any older, so I never thought I was going to get that shot. You would like to see guys that deserve to get that shot. And with 10, the numbers were a bit disappointing today. As for the Seahawks, Goodell was also asked yesterday about the Wall Street Journal report that the Seahawks had been fined $5 million for not being further down the road when it comes to selling the team. He pushed back strongly against that, but did say that, yes, with the trust after Paul Allen's death, it's very clearly stated that Jodi Allen will have to sell the team. He didn't put a timetable on it, commended her for her current stewardship of the team. Obviously, they are here. The last team that went up for bid and sold and did sell was the Commanders for just north of $6 million. That used to be in a bygone era a regional team, right? The Seahawks are very much a regional team. If and when that sells, that's going to go for a lot more than $6 million, considering all this private equity. Right? $6 billion. I'm sorry. Thank you. Considering all the private equity valuations where teams are selling off small shares, I mean, it's going to be north of 7. It could be 8.
Yeah, it's a great point, Andrew, because the private equity landscape has really changed the NFL valuations because you do have different cash flows coming in. You do have different investment strategies. And so, I mean, this is really interesting. And the Seahawks vice chair, we were kind of asking him yesterday. I asked him, do you look at the Commanders? What did you learn from that sale? And what did you learn about the way they did it that you would want to do? How would you want to do it differently? He was like, well, we learned from every sale. And he definitely was not particularly interested in making comments. But when someone asked him, hey, if you win the Super Bowl or even just making it to the Super Bowl already, do you think that impacts your valuation? He was like, well, when the Celtics sold, it seemed to help them. So I do think there's an element of like, strike when the iron's hot. Even if they lose the Super Bowl, to have a team that just made it is going to definitely get on radars. And I think that something I kept hearing when the Commanders were up for sale is there's a lot of political leverage that team could be used for. And I think that was one of the values of it, which is why people thought at the time Jeff Bezos might be interested because, hey, if you got there and you can schmooze your government officials locally at the Commanders game, that would be something. But there is a tech element here, whether that's Bezos or someone else, that I do think in Seattle you can kind of work the tech a little bit.
Yeah, there is so much corporate money in Seattle, whether it's Amazon or whether I mean even Costco, for Pete's sake. There's so much money up there. They have a regional fan base. They have an amazing stadium. They have loud fans. They have a successful organization. That one goes for, I think, well north of 7. Robert Kraft, by the way, talking about Belichick not getting to the Hall of Fame. Rodger was asked about that yesterday. Obviously, supported him for the Hall of Fame. Kind of distanced himself as well from the process. People need to remember when you hear the NFL Hall of Fame, that's wrong. That is absolutely a misnomer, if you will. It is the Pro Football Hall of Fame, and while the league and the Hall have a partnership, it is not the NFL Hall of Fame. The NFL does not run Canton. Goodell said, obviously, he thinks Belichick should get in. Today we find out Robert Kraft, reportedly, is also not getting in.
Yeah, and I think there are a few questions here, one of which is how people view contributors generally for the Hall of Fame. And, hey, if you can only put so many people in and you're between a player and an owner, does that person deserve to be in? I have this conversation with people all the time about Jerry Jones getting inducted in 2017 and did he deserve it? And it's like Jerry didn't get in for the 3 Super Bowls the Cowboys had under him. He got in for fundamentally changing the financial model and the media streaming model of the NFL to where the NFL was no longer paying to have their games on TV. The TV is now paying mass amounts and all the different streaming services as well to broadcast the NFL. I think we're just going to see that this system changed and the change is broken. So we'll continue to get details on how that happened. But if you only had a certain number of votes to allocate, if you were a voter, I believe it was you could vote for 3 of the 5 or something, and you needed 40 of the 50 votes in order to get in, particularly for first ballot. I don't think anyone's questioning whether Belichick should get in eventually, but I think that this is more a system, which is why I'm not saying that some people's beliefs on Belichick cheating didn't influence the process at all, and maybe that was the difference between 37 and 41 votes. It might. We can't say that for sure. We weren't in that room. What I do think is worth noting is that if you have a system broken that keeps multiple people who are by all accounts are seemingly deserving of the Pro Football Hall of Fame out of it, that's less about some sort of like animosity toward one person than it is about a broken system that needs to be fixed, and I expect it will be fixed. I mean, again, as you know, I don't vote for that, but I do vote for the NFL Honors Awards that will be out this week in the All-Pro ballots, and there were some changes they made this year, moving our ballots up. We had to turn them all in the day after the season ended by 3 p.m., and I'm like, getting home from the game I was covering Sunday night at 5 a.m., having to turn that around. And coaches and executives couldn't get back to me that day on who they thought for different awards because they were in the middle of it. So I'm a big believer of if a system is broken, it needs to be fixed, but the individuals in that system might not be the reason that it's broken.
So NFL Honors is Thursday. Let's just spitball this idea. So at Honors, that's when they reveal Jori's a voter, all the big awards. What would you think of getting, how many voters? 50?
Yeah.
Okay. Of getting 50 of you, the 50 voters, you guys go black tie, get all dressed up. You guys are over.
They could egg us like they egged Kevin Patullo's house?
Not egg you, but kind of like Stadler and Waldorf and the Muppets. You guys are up in the balcony. They could always do the cutaways. There are the voters up there. Ladies and gentlemen, here are the voters. And then there's the step and repeat afterwards. So let's assume Myles Garrett wins, or whomever the MVP is, Matthew Stafford or Drake May. If it is Drake May, is he going to show up?
Usually no.
Or is he going to stay at the hotel, which is an hour away?
He's not coming.
Okay. Just throwing it out there. Cooper Kupp, when Andrew Whitworth was Man of the Year, Cooper Kupp was there in L.A., just saying. Anyway, they interview you guys afterwards, backstage.
That actually would be interesting to ask about the process. I mean, again, as many people have heard on our show, what was crazy for us last year is that historically they had not publicized who we voted for, just the aggregate.
And you didn't know.
Votes. And no, they did not tell us in advance. And then my brother's friend texted him being like, I can't believe your sister didn't vote for Lamar Jackson for MVP. And he's like, what do you mean? I thought this was private. And that's how I found out.
What was that like?
Public. I was frustrated because they didn't release I view the All-Pro and the MVP, like NFL Honors Awards, as one group of like how I'm evaluating the players and the coaches and the executives in the league that season. So again, last year I voted for Lamar Jackson first team All-Pro, Josh Allen MVP, because I felt like Lamar had the best season, but Josh had to do more to carry his team because he didn't have Derrick Henry among others on that. Well, they didn't publicize my All-Pro, so everyone's like, oh, well, you just thought that Josh was better altogether than Lamar. And I'm like, if you're going to publicize it, publicize all of it. Because to me, there's a lot of context here and the two work hand in hand. And then I remember the guy running the process, I get a notification that 3 people included an offensive lineman on their Offensive Player of the Year rankings. Again, not first, but I think it was like 4th or 5th. And it was like me, Tom Brady, and Teddy Bruschi. It was like for them, they had Joe Thuney, who they played with, and I had Jordan Mailata there. But I'm like, what is this notification? As I'm like at a networking event. So there were some trust questions, I would say.
How bad were your social media comments?
It was a mix. I mean, I would say.
I'm trying to make you the story, but
yeah.
I mean, that was a big deal last year.
It was a big deal. I mean, what's frustrating is not like if someone's like, "Hey, I disagree with your evaluation of football," that's one thing. But because one of the quarterbacks was white and one was black, it was like, "Hey, you're racist, and that's why you didn't vote."
And you're a
for
woman.
Lamar. Yeah.
I have to point that out.
Yeah, there are a lot of. I check a lot of boxes for reasons that people could hate on social media. So.
And let's just say this because we all get it in this business. But look, we talk about football. Go ahead, take shots. It's okay. Most of the people that write comments on your social media would never say it to your face.
Yeah.
And the athletes, the players will tell you the same thing. 99% would never say it to your face.
I got an email and a story recently from someone who read my story and then told me that they didn't think it was very well written and they prefer the writing in the Boston Globe. And I was like, I just responded like, thank you so much for reading. I'm so glad you have a publication like the Boston Globe where you are happy about the writing. Because I'm just like, you want to make someone
Thank you for supporting a local newspaper.
Yeah, like, thank you so much. I'm like, that's amazing to hear from you. Like, I'm so happy
local
you have
journalism.
something that, I'm happy when people are happy, and I'm happy that this person has a publication with writing they like.
Absolutely.
Thanks for letting me know.
The Yahoo NFL page often carries stories from local journalists, and so fantastic. We could all work together. Let's do, because we had a bunch of, this is the press conference season here. We had Mike LaFleur on the podium today. We had Todd Monken on the podium. They're also, speaking of Todd Monken, because he's not going to New York to work with Jackson Dart and John Harbaugh. It is also the time of the year where we're looking at coordinator pairings. You want to do that?
Let's do it.
Let's roll through some real quick. Matt Nagy, Jackson Dart, Declan Doyle, Lamar Jackson, Joe Brady, Josh Allen, Brian Daboll, Cam Ward, Sean Mannion, Jalen Hurts, Scott Hanson's waiting in the lobby. So which one stands out to you that you think is the best pairing?
Yeah, I don't know about best, but the one I want to talk about is Declan Doyle and Lamar Jackson, because I went deep on a feature on Declan Doyle last season because I was just fascinating. Why did Ben Johnson hire at the time a 28-year-old he never worked with? Usually if you're a first-time head coach, you want people with experience or people who you've worked with before. Not everybody, but this was to be his offensive coordinator, and he hadn't done that. And so I went around and asked, and this is a guy who twice Sean Payton has hired him at 2 different teams. Mm-hmm. Then Ben Johnson hired him, and now Jesse Minter hires him. And I'm like, if you were to tell me those 3 guys and Sean Payton twice have endorsed a coach, I would say, okay, then there's probably something we should be there. And Sean Payton's like, if I could buy in on his future, I would. So to me, I want to see, hey, Declan Doyle, I think, is just such a young, talented offensive mind that people were telling me he's another Ben Johnson. And I think when you look at what they did with the Bears and Caleb Williams this year, there was a lot of like, hey, we have a talented quarterback. We want to maximize that, but we don't want him to be the superhero every single play. We also want to create a system that helps take something off of him. And so I am very curious to see how that goes with Lamar Jackson, particularly because he's got a defensive head coach. So at 29 years old, he'll be 30 by the time the season starts. He's going to be the top offensive mind in Baltimore.
It's also fascinating to see, and it's only 1 year, what the Ben Johnson tree looks like. He's got a long way to go to get Sean, but I think the Ben Johnson tree is the next one to at least. It's a sapling.
Yeah.
To keep an eye on. The one that stuck out to me was Sean Mannion, not because I remember calling his Rams games just a couple of years ago. He's only 30 years old. He's only been a coach for 2 years. He started a game in this league as recently as 2021. But he works with Jalen Hurts, and it's going to be a fascinating year with Jalen Hurts. And there are a lot of head coaching vacancies. We're like, does anybody really want that job? Look at how many people interviewed for the Eagles OC job. Not saying nobody wanted it, but I do think it's fair to say, considering how much turnover they've had in this position, considering some of the criticism Jalen took, considering the mess that was every time A.J. Brown took to social media, was this a desirable job?
Yeah, I think whoever is going to take this job had to recognize that a large part of the Philadelphia Eagles offensive coordinator job is managing personalities.
And get your house egg.
Yeah, you might get it egged. And people did think about that. That was real. I mean, I've talked to coaches who were like, I don't know, did I want to move my family there when I could go somewhere else where I felt like my family would be a little bit safer, a little bit calmer? So I think that one is super interesting. I also think when you look at Matt Nagy going to help Jackson Dart, first we thought it was going to be Todd Monken coming with John Harbaugh. Then it's like, okay, who's going to be supporting him? Matt Nagy was long paired or long expected to go to Tennessee to support Cam Ward. He gets another young quarterback, but it is someone who is viewed as a quarterback developer.
Coming up next, ladies and gentlemen, the living embodiment of the Spider-Man meme. We might actually point at each other and with the webs live on camera. My Red Zone brother, my Gold Zone brother from NFL Network, Scott Hanson, is waiting in the wings, and he joins us live next here in San Francisco. That's Jori. I'm Andrew. This is Inside Coverage.
What is the argument in your eyes for Cam Boozer as the first pick in the draft?
His game is just really resilient. And, you know, with all the concerns about some of his verticality or the burst, whatever it may be, he's been incredibly productive.
It's just hard to look at Boozer and argue against the level of production from him at every single level, while he's also continued to get better at add more to his game.
And the knock against Oregon is that they've always been a step away from national championship caliber.
Dan Lanning has to build a more complete roster. And, you know, we can say, oh, he took all this from Kirby Smart. Well, none of what he learned from Kirby Smart actually applies anymore. He's got to do it in this era. They're still good. They're still going to be there every year. He's got to have that one right mix that comes together. And I think it will.
Jaylen Brown, what a run he's on, was.
I think he's earned the right to pound his chest at this point. There's just no two ways about it. And the truth of the matter is Jaylen Brown is playing like a superstar. There's no qualifications here. It's like this guy is playing like one of the best players in the NBA. He's getting it done on both ends of the court.
My fight that I need to see next year is Alex Pereira versus John Jones. The history is the fact that Alex Pereira could be the first one to defeat John Jones, all due respect to Matt Hamill. and it would be a massive feather in the cap of Alex Pereira, who could then fight the winner of Cyril Gahn and Tom Aspinall. If Alex Pereira is now a heavyweight, it's free and clear for you, John. And I think the UFC, as you said, would want to make a big splash this year. There is no bigger splash they could make than Alex Pereira versus John Jones.
There is a phrase, break the internet, that I think at times is overused. It's a hashtag, honestly. It's something the kids like to say. I don't know that we're going to break the internet. Last year, NBC, when Scott and I did the Gold Zone together, they said we broke the internet. Jori is here in the middle.
Yeah.
For a live edition of Inside Coverage. Thank you for watching. Hi, I'm Andrew Siciliano, and this is not only my Gold Zone brother, but my Red Zone brother as well. From NFL Network, here on behalf of Lowe's, he's got props as well. Scott Hanson, good to see you.
Andrew, great to see you. Do we need to point at each other?
The Spider-Man, like we're pointing.
Yes.
No. Yeah, Jori's stuck in the middle.
Look at first of all, for the sports fans that are out there that have watched Red Zone, whether it was the Red Zone channel or NFL Red Zone through the years, through the decades, they're like, oh, wow, I wonder, Scott and Andrew, do they have a rivalry? We've been friends we were in college.
We knew each other in college.
Yes. I mean,
Yes.
Syracuse University. Shout out the Newhouse School. I love it. There it is, the Spider-Man meme.
Here we go.
Jori, are you one of those?
Yeah,
There's three of them. I forgot there were
You need to host Red Zone for a good decade or so
All right,
before you can join the Spider-Man meme right there.
It's last year was fun at Gold Zone. For years, and you've told the story, you both told the story 1,000 times. There were moments where, so we're both on the air doing our show.
Yeah.
I'm on DirecTV, Scott's doing the other one. And you would get texts and tweets saying like, man, I can't believe you went there. Or like, why did you leave that game? Or, hey, you said this, isn't it really that? And then I would get the same as well. And I would say, that's not me. That was Scott. And Scott would go, that's not me. That was him. I would get times where like friends who didn't know, and I know you've had this before, friends who didn't know there was a second one or another one.
Sure.
And they would go over to their buddy's house and they're like,
yes.
oh. And then we get a text, dude, you called in sick today. What's wrong? Like, no, actually, I'm fine. I'm alive. And vice versa.
Yeah, you never missed one, right? I
Missed
never
one.
missed
I
one.
had a false COVID positive.
Did you really?
2021.
Oh no, I remember
when
that
they
as a
were
matter of fact, because I think I
testing
texted you and I
at
was
the
like,
door
I
at
feel
DirecTV.
sick for you.
Yes, you did.
Because I know
Thank
what
you.
a gamer you are, and you would not have missed it for risk of life and limb. But the way the world was in 2020, yeah,
It was so. Here's the story.
yeah.
Did you remember back in the day when we had to test all the time
Oh
for
yeah, I
games
missed
and
the
everything?
Super Bowl because Senior Bowl COVID.
See, really?
I got COVID at Veets in the Senior Bowl.
You
yeah.
got.
But it was a real positive, it wasn't a fake.
Okay, so Veets, if we can now bring it all together, Mobile, Alabama, the Senior Bowl. Veets is the ultimate dive bar in the South.
I'm like, I got a source if I'm going to be here. And we were vaccinated by then, but it was the LA Super Bowl. And I'm like, I don't feel great. Might not be okay to go to Radio Row like this.
It's nothing. Oh, God, it's the worst. I walked into DirecTV that morning, and in 2021, we were, as the world is different, they were testing at the door, basically. You walked into the lobby, everyone did a test. We did it every week.
Our favorite, the cranium.
Exactly.
scrape.
I think this
Yeah.
was week 5, and truth be told, I had a little bit of a sniffle, but I was fine.
Yeah.
They do the test, and like, yeah, you're positive. I'm like, there's no way.
I'll be like,
So we
do
step
it again.
outside, and I'm like, test me again. Like, we can't test. No. Wait. So I get my doctor on the phone.
I would be.
Get my doctor on the phone. My boss comes down. I'm like, okay, we'll test you again. So it came back negative. I'm like,
I'm good.
I'm good.
Yeah.
Like, we got to be safe. And my doctor's on the phone. My doctor's like, they got to be safe. I'm like, come on. I'm like, best 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
Let's go. 2 out of 3.
Rock, paper,
Let's
scissors.
go.
Yeah.
Like, can't do it.
Yeah.
So I sat at home. Steelers kicked the Browns' asses that day. Because I had this positive attitude. I'm like, I'm gonna go home.
Hit the couch.
I'm gonna
time.
make myself a great breakfast.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be in a great mental space, and I'm gonna do this the right way with a positive attitude.
Yeah.
And then the Browns are down like 21-0 in the end of one. And I'm like, I hate my life.
Well, you missed. I have a streak. Whatever. Knock on whatever you
on wood.
like to find here. I have a streak of never missing a
many years now?
yet. And this was season 17. And you guys went for.
We did 18. So
Oh,
one more.
here we
Almost there,
go.
my
This is a
friend.
big year then for us.
Big year. Stay.
Well,
stay
I'm signed through year 20. So I figured 2 decades, if we can get that far, that's a heck of a run.
That
and,
is.
and I say this about Andrew. First of all, Andrew's a friend. I mean, there really is not, from my standpoint, there's not like a rivalry or anything else like that. You tried to do the best show you could. I tried to do the best show I could. you're the only person in the world that knows like I know. You know what I mean? You're the only human, and I love our industry. I love sports broadcasting. I love I love all the media members from around the world converging here. There's one human being in the world that knows what it's like to go through a 7-hour, nonstop, cover everything comprehensively in the NFL, try and make sense, talking extemporaneously for that long. There's one person in the world that I could discuss it with, and it's the man to my right here.
Likewise.
And I'm proud to call you a friend and
Likewise.
a colleague. Yeah.
Respect. We were talking off air about media night. So Scott MCs the in-house and on TV as well. But for the fans, like everyone up on stage, for media opening night it used to be called Media Day. Now it's called Opening Night. Yeah. It was a little bit different last night.
Yeah,
it was quieter. We had Cardi B, like marriage proposal questions to Stephon Diggs, all that fun stuff. So all the tomfoolery and hijinks. But what was your overall takeaway from the way it went down?
Well, it was interesting that the venue was different. So it used to be called Media Day, as we know. We've been around the NFL forever. It used to be on Tuesday.
Right.
It was during the afternoon.
At the stadium in the sunshine.
But then, shocker, the NFL likes to turn everything into an event, in a made-for-TV event at that, and rightly so. It's the kickoff of the biggest sports week of the year for football fans, at least, the biggest sports and entertainment extravaganza that the United States has, the Super Bowl. So they said, well, let's move this thing to Monday. The teams fly in either on Sunday or on Monday, and let's put them together, make a big stage event, right? And we'll call it opening night, not just Media Day, but we'll also conduct the Media Day activities. So it's been like that for, we need to look back, probably about 8 years or so. It's been like opening night, somewhere around there. And they've had it in the game stadium and open up, like tickets are free for fans, usually local area football fans. Maybe if the two teams have fans that have come in 6 days prior, they would be there. But you could have tens of thousands of people there to see them do their interviews and see them on stage with the Vince Lombardi Trophy and whatnot. Well, Levi Stadium, grass stadium, they're not going to use the game stadium for something that could damage the surface 6 days prior. So then usually we would move into a basketball or a hockey size arena and still have fans there. For whatever reason, they ended up in the San Jose Convention Center, which, while being a lovely building, for that big atmosphere that we've come to know, it didn't have quite the same
dark.
Feel. It was a little bit different. It was one layer, one level. I mean, look at all the. Take a guess how many credentialed media there.
No,
there
I have no idea.
Gosh,
I mean, take a wild guess. I mean,
1,700.
5,000.
5,000, 1,700. Pretty good guess. 1,500.
Okay.
15. Now, which is as absurd as it can possibly be, because at any given time, the Patriots went for an hour, the Seahawks went for an hour, and if you add up every coach, every player, every injured reserve player, every practice squad player, there's probably about 100 people that could possibly be interviewed, and 1,500 people to interview 100. And really, let's be real, there's only about 8 to 10 on any given team that people really want to talk to. It's way overkill. But look, it served its purpose. It was a little bit of a different feel. My guess is the NFL will probably go back to more of an arena or a stadium feel for it. But, Super Bowl opening night in the books. I got my selfie with the Vince Lombardi Trophy, which is always one of my favorite moments there.
It plays well on TV. And last night I think it still played well on TV from what I saw. But it also gave you, as the journalist, working hard, it gave you a little more peace and quiet to a degree, right?
Yeah, I loved it, because usually if there are fans 360 around when we've been in these basketball arenas, last year was at the Saints Stadium, you're kind of like, okay, well, everyone's screaming, there's loud music, it's dark so you can't see people to find them, but then if you do find them, you probably have strobe lights in your eyes, and you can't talk, and I'd be going back trying to transcribe my interviews, being like, I can't hear what they're saying, even though I was right next to them. So for me, it was fantastic. The fans were in the corner, I could hear everyone, I could text the coach being like, hey, where are you? And they could let me know, and I could go find them and walk to them without having to run into 17 people. For me, I've never tried to get the main names on opening night, because I say I'll get them Wednesday or Thursday. I'm not going to get the most productive interview from them.
You weren't talking to Drake May about which of his wife's baking recipes he did.
Although that went viral.
That went viral. So Will Compton, give Will credit, busting with the boys. He was up there on a stepladder, screaming over everybody, saying, hey, the Snickerdoodle cookies are great. We know you love those. But like between us, is there a recipe that you don't really
He
like?
named one too.
Yeah, he had to think about it for a while.
What it
The
was?
chocolate date bar.
Look at
Yeah.
you, the most
Which
prepared
sounds
man in
delicious.
broadcast.
I think
to
they
me.
sound good.
We'll take them off his
Yeah,
hand.
if
I
he doesn't want them.
Yeah, yeah.
I want to talk Olympics, but let's do the Lowe's because I don't want to disrespect the business here. You brought props. What do you have in the bucket?
So I am here at courtesy of Lowe's. My friends at Lowe's, as you well know, throughout the football season, encourage us to earn our Sunday, right? That's their phrase, meaning you go to Lowe's, you get all your home improvement projects done, you knock out everything so that you can plop your butt on the couch and watch Red Zone for 7 hours or whatever your favorite football team is. You have earned your Sunday. Well, when it comes to Super Sunday, my friends at Lowe's, you know, they're gonna do it up right. So let me introduce
Look
to
at
you
that.
the Lowe's Earn Your Sunday bucket belt.
Snacks.
Hopefully this registers on camera
Tools.
here. It's a belt that straps on any 5-gallon work bucket. Get yourself a Lowe's work bucket, of course. And then instead of putting your tools in it, we got grilling tools. We've got your condiments. You got beverages. You can fill it up with ice and whatever you want. Some football goodies on top.
Amazing.
Snacks and whatnot.
They're
Lowe's
serious.
Earn Your Sunday bucket belt, the perfect complement for the big game on Sunday, and they're still available right now. This is first of its kind, limited edition, but you go to Lowe's.com, go to Lowe's website, check it out. There's still some available here, so pick yours up now and fill it up for the big game.
Dude, you're so good at that.
That's what?
You're so good at that.
Oh, well, I mean, the Lowe's partnership has been absolutely fantastic because if you see the commercials all the time, some of the biggest names in the game are partnered with Lowe's. Justin Jefferson was amazing, in my opinion, in the commercials this year with the ice bucket, you know. He underplayed it. Dak Prescott's gotten into it. Christian McCaffrey and some of the other guys. Lowe's, I'm telling you right now, I've gotten to know the entire Lowe's executive team. They love football as much as we love football. And, of course, they do business with the NFL for years, so it's a good marriage for the Super Bowl.
I told JJ when he was on the show a couple of weeks ago that he has a legitimate acting future. Like you see Justin
Really?
Jefferson's
Yeah, he's
acting
good.
chops.
Guy, yes. Yeah, he's got it. He's got that it factor. And doesn't try too hard, which is a
Very low key.
Yeah.
Also pretty damn good on the football field.
yeah, he's known to be.
We are not only doing the red zone as well.
Oh yeah.
Back in the day. So Scott and I are reuniting for another edition of the Gold Zone, or Gold Zone, not the. We dropped the.
That's right.
Gold Zone
Yep.
on NBC and Peacock starting this weekend. The game's actually, the opening ceremony is Friday. Currently begins tomorrow.
Correct.
And then the game's full speed ahead starting over the weekend and into next week all the way up until the 23rd. You saw the Lindsey Vonn news today.
I mean, that's the biggest story.
ACL,
Yeah.
but she's still going to go.
She said she ruptured, which if it's an ACL tear.
It's a tear.
Wow.
So she's got the titanium right knee.
Yeah, which
has been rebuilt.
Yes, yeah.
And she tore her left ACL last week.
Yeah.
And she's still going to go.
In her 40s.
And she's still 41.
At 41. Correct.
Yeah, I mean, if she hadn't suffered the crash, which is just the most
heartbreaking,
so unfortunate, the week leading up, this was still going to be Tom Brady trying to win a Super Bowl in his 40s.
After taking 5 years off to do TV.
Exactly. Yeah, well, that's the other, dynamic to it. I mean, she's already one of, if not the greatest of all time. To do this in her 40s, to come back, and then to have this injury, to come out and have the news conference today to announce that there was meniscus stuff, I think she said as well. But she said the pain isn't extreme. The swelling isn't bad enough. She's going to throw a brace on top of it. This is, if she's able to do this, and she's supposed to ski on Sunday.
Yes.
On Super Bowl Sunday
morning
is her first competition. If she's able to podium, I'm not saying a gold. If she's able to win a medal, this will be one of the greatest Winter Olympics moments in history.
And she's been tearing it up pre-injury on the World Cup circuit in Western Europe the last couple of weeks. She's been on podium. She has a legitimate shot. The story in and of itself, in that she wasn't going to compete, she rebuilt her knee, and there's titanium in her knee, and then went, this feels good. Maybe I'll start skiing again. And now she's back. So my heart broke for her. When I saw that she was going to have a presser this morning, I was like,
that it was,
Mm-hmm. But then she came out there and goes, no, I didn't come this far to not get on that mountain.
She said she's
going to get on the mountain.
She skied, was it she skied since the injury.
Yes,
She
to test it out.
She went out, and I'm okay. She's also the winningest skier on the mountain that they're going to be contesting this on,
which is amazing.
Cortina, she has dominated the run that they have set up for the Olympics, like in World Cup competition, non-Olympics competition. So, I mean, look at the Olympics is about stories, human beings, and sports history. All of these converge in spades. If she's even able to compete and if she medals, just sensational.
It'll be amazing. Gold Zone through the 22nd. That's the end of the game. It's not the 23rd. I got it wrong in my head. On NBC and Peacock, Scott and I will both be there. Scott, here on behalf of Lowe's, Lowe's.com. Check it out. The Lowe's Earn Your Sunday bucket belt. I will see you in Stamford, my friend. It is good to have you on the show.
Great to see you guys. Have a great Super Bowl week.
Scott Hanson, everybody. Jori Epstein, we are back to wrap up Inside Coverage. After this, don't go anywhere.
Penn State has imported Iowa State. It's the best way I could explain it. Penn State has now taken Rocco Beck. They took RB1. They took wide receiver 1. They took 3 offensive linemen. I detest that this is how college football works at the moment, but it's the way it works at the moment. And that is when you take a head coach, part of the thinking behind hiring the head coach is who he can bring with him. And in Matt Campbell's case, it was basically whoever he wants.
I'm very fascinated to see which direction they go here because I think that Roman, this is the deal with him. He's not terrible. He's not offensive as an offensive coordinator, but he can get you to a certain point. You need somebody else to get you to the next point. I think he's done a good job with Herbert getting him to run more and getting him to push the ball down the field. Now I'd like to see, someone kind of just, again, give him some more quicker options. That's the type of stuff I'd like to see from the next coach.
Tom Aspinall, Cyril Gahn, that needs to be resolved, right? Hamzat Shemaiah versus Sean Strickland. But I will accept Hamzat Shemaiah versus Fluffy Hernandez. If Fluffy beats Sean Strickland, I'll take either of those. Here's another one of my, but you accept these as secondary.
100%.
Armin Sarukian versus UFC lightweight champion. We cannot just keep having Armin doing grappling matches and eating and all this stuff.
I'm kind of okay with it.
No, I'm not.
No,
I know you love it.
You get the first pick in the underrated player draft. Who are you taking?
Jalen Duren has never made an All-Star game. He's never made an All-NBA team. He's gotten so much better as a scorer this year. Jalen Duren is like a legit All-Star this year. And so because everybody talks about the Detroit situation like it's trash and Cade Cunningham, I'm going to say he's still a little bit underrated, and he's my number 1 pick.
Back on Inside Coverage, Jori Epstein. I'm Andrew Siciliano. We are live here in San Francisco. Thanks to Scott Hanson for being here as well. You were kind of caught in the red zone crossfire there. Are you okay?
Oh, yeah. I think I made it out.
Okay. Good. Like I kind of, because we're like, I didn't really like talk over
it's a
you,
Spider-Man
but like
meme.
we're kind of like going, yeah, did a good job. Let's talk about the Pro Bowl, because the Pro Bowl is tonight. It's 8 o'clock Eastern time. It's not the Pro Bowl that we grew up watching. It is not a game in Hawaii, and Sean Taylor, may he rest in peace, is not blowing up Brian Moorman, the Bills punter. It is not like that. It is a flag football game. For my money, I'm okay with it still because it's a game for kids. Like I've said this before, my 11-year-old nephew loves flag football and loves to see his favorite players out there. Whether or not they had a good season is not really that important to him. He wants to see them out there, and he's going to enjoy watching the game. But when you see the story last night that, for example, Justin Fields turns down an invite to be a last-second replacement for that flag football game, you're like, what is a Pro Bowl honor anymore?
Right, and same thing with Shedeur Sanders, Joe Flacco. Neither were starting the whole season in this league. And so I think you have to ask yourself, to me, there are two things going on right now. There is the Pro Bowl award, and there's the Pro Bowl game. And I think that if they don't have enough people who win the Pro Bowl honors from the original voting to go to the Pro Bowl game, just don't act like they are Pro Bowlers for coming to this game. To me, I think they're two different things. You can have the fun games. You could try and get the Pro Bowlers there. You're probably not going to get a lot of them, especially, like a Matthew Stafford who's just been playing this whole time. Does he really want to come right after that game ends? Not really.
And answer questions about his future.
Yeah, I think
he doesn't want to be here.
I mean, I think there are other players. It's like, if your coach or GM got fired, but you had a good season, do you really want to do that? And it's interesting because the Cowboys, who I spent a long time covering, have a ton of players here, some of which got it on the first ballot and some of which did not. So to me, I think it's just two different things, and that the Pro Bowl as a game still has a use, but I don't think it's the same use as recognizing the best players in the game. Because, Andrew, I was at the league meetings when Woody Johnson, the Jets team owner, was talking about how he didn't have a quarterback who could win games, and now that quarterback was invited to Pro Bowl contests. And I think, and maybe this doesn't matter, I hope the players who kind of end up here but didn't have it aren't like, but I'm a Pro Bowler now. Like, I have a little bit of nuance here.
When an agent calls up a GM to negotiate a new deal and they say, but he was a Pro Bowler, it doesn't matter. I think I had a player who ended up in Canton, a friend, tell me years ago that there was no such thing as second team All-Pro. And I'm like, actually there is. He's like, but there isn't. You're either an All-Pro or you're not. And I think we're kind of at that spot with the Pro Bowl. If you get voted in, and obviously there is a voting and a fan element here as well that has changed the math.
Right.
But if you're in that first group, you're a Pro Bowler. And if they invite you to come and play in the flag football game, you're kind of in the other group. And I feel like there's a similarity there with the way the All-Pro process has played out.
I actually feel like it's even beyond that, though, because second team All-Pro, I mean, again, there are positions like receiver where I need 3 first team All-Pro receivers on my ballot, 3 second team All-Pro receivers, and there's also an all-purpose award that could go to a receiver. But for quarterback, the second team All-Pro quarterback is the second best quarterback in the conference because there's only one on the field at a time.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So that's like a little bit different. Pro Bowl, I mean, we're arguably to like 10th team Pro Bowl when you think of some of the guys who are here.
Yeah. I don't necessarily agree with my friend's assumption, or rather not assumption. I mean, he was like, I'm an All-Pro, and that guy's not an All-Pro. Like, okay, totally get that. He's like, there is no second team All-Pro. I understand your thinking, but I actually think it applies now far more for the Pro Bowl. Like, for Shedeur Sanders to be here, it's fun, it's nice. I think he's realistic as well. I mean, believe it or not, he's actually somewhat modest. I actually think he understands it. And if I'm Justin Fields, and we were texting about this last night, I'm like, I don't want to show up and have to answer questions about my future. Am I going to get cut? The free agency dollars, the dead cap, my new coach, the fact that the entire Jets coaching staff, not named Aaron Glenn, has been fired. I don't want to come here and talk about that. I'll just stay home. I'm good.
Right. And it'll be interesting also when we see if they continue to do the Pro Bowl during Super Bowl week in the same city a few days before. That might make players want to come more because a lot of players are already coming down later in the week for endorsements, for appearances, for their agencies' networking events and parties. And so I do think that there are benefits to the Pro Bowl. I mean, hey, Sam Darnold was talking last night, like, hey, we spent a little bit of time together at the Pro Bowl last year, Sam Darnold, Drake May, that is. And so there are guys who get to meet players from other teams and some of their counterparts in a lower stress situation than when they're facing them and they have the whole like good game, go crush it after the field handshake. And so I do think there are still values to it, but I think we should be realistic about what they are.
And the game is fun. It's a flag game. It was a skills competition. It is what it is. Kids like watching it. My friend Kyle Brandt, go back and watch. He did a bit on Good Morning Football last year or 2 years ago about how he took his son to the game when it was in Florida, and his son walked around the sideline and met everybody. Great opportunity for his son. Very happy. Very, very cool that Kyle can have that father-son moment, but it's for the kids. Like anyone getting angry about the Pro Bowl and yearning for the days of Sean Taylor blowing up a guy on, no, come on. Like we're past that, and I think the game is past that. I still think there is value for this event. You mentioned Sam Darnold. We have 5 minutes remaining here. Frank Schwab is writing about Sam Darnold and his redemption tour and how, I mean, what an ending he can write if the Seahawks were to win a Super Bowl. Sam was Sam last night on the podium. I don't know if you got in front of his podium at all last night. He's still not going to open up much. He is a quiet, humble, modest guy. He's on his 5th team. I don't know that I'm rooting for either team, but it would be a pretty cool story.
Yeah, it is a great story because, again, how often do we see a quarterback on his 5th team in 8 years, who isn't like a, hey, Nick Foles started later in the season because Carson Wentz got injured. No, Sam was the starter all year, and they believed we can get to a Super Bowl with Sam, or they at least hoped that when they signed him. And this is a guy, he's the son of a plumber and a teacher, and he's making it to this place. And it's a fascinating story. To me, the two themes that really stick out about Sam Darnold, because I'll be writing on him in the next couple days as well, story should be on Yahoo by Wednesday night or Thursday, is this idea of when Sam finished with the Jets, finished with the Panthers, and he was trying to figure out his next step, he had to decide where he wanted to go. And yes, a factor in going to the 49ers was Brock Purdy was coming off the elbow injury, and it wasn't clear if there would be a couple games at the beginning of the year he couldn't start. But there are also this idea. People close to Sam say he wanted to go get his PhD in football from Kyle Shanahan. He wanted to learn a system that even if he didn't stay in San Francisco, even if Brock Purdy was the starter from here on out, he would have this background, which went on to help him schematically in Minnesota with Kevin O'Connell and then back with Clint Kubiak in the Seattle world when he had already been with Clint in San Francisco. And so I think there's something about this system. And there's also this confidence and redemption arc, I would say. Jason Garrett, former Cowboys head coach as well as former Cowboys quarterback, had a great segment with Sam earlier this year where he read Sam his scouting report from when Sam was coming out in the draft in 2018. And one of the things Jason had put on the scouting report 8 years ago was not affected by failure. And I think that is just so telling of look, he did have his downs, but he kind of kept the routine the same, and now we're seeing where it's taken him.
Yeah, and he was here 2 years ago, obviously, with the 49ers, here meaning the Super Bowl, never stepped on the field. He did have failure last year. He got to the playoffs with the Vikings. They played that neutral site game in Arizona because of the fires in L.A., and Chris Shula's defense sacked him 9 times, a playoff record. It was ugly. And Sam, I think, was pretty open. One of the rare moments he did open up this year during training camp in Seattle where he said, yeah, that did affect me. And yeah, I was shaken. And now I do have something to prove. But once he got on the field there, he proved it. He hasn't really talked about it since. And I'm happy for the guy. The first from the much ballyhooed 2018 draft class, right. That quarterback class that went Baker #1 and then Sam Darnold and then Josh Allen at 7, Lamar Jackson eventually there at 32. Don't forget Josh Rosen at 10 to make it this far. And Sam Darnold, and I don't think anybody would have expected that, could be the guy to win the Super Bowl. Also the second ever quarterback to make a Super Bowl to have been drafted by the Jets. The other being the great Joe Namath, who won Super Bowl III. We have 90 seconds remaining in time for, I believe we brought the band, one more thing before we go. The band's going to be playing Union Square coming up on Saturday night. Your one more thing.
Yeah, my one more thing is that Josh McCown is more relevant to this Super Bowl than you think. He's currently the quarterback's coach for the Minnesota Vikings, previously an NFL quarterback, coached Drake May in high school. Drake May, his kids were on Drake May's team. And then when Sam Darnold got to the Jets, he was on the Jets with Joe Flacco. And then we went to the Vikings, not Joe Flacco. He was on the Jets with Josh McCown, and with the Vikings, they were back together as a coaching and players. So it's kind of interesting that while multiple guys have influenced these quarterbacks, Josh McCown had an influence on both of them.
6 degrees of Josh McCown. That's a good one. My one more thing is the 2 pressers today, Ian Cunningham in Atlanta and then Todd Monken in Cleveland, both had a chance to endorse, stamp the young quarterbacks in their building as definitely the guy for next year. With Cunningham, it's Michael Penix coming back from the knee injury. With Monken, it's Shedeur Sanders, who we saw the video with the Browns that they posted last week. Neither was willing to say, that is my guy. Both kind of towed the company line and said, obviously, they are quarterbacks in our room, and we're excited to have them. That's it. Good working with you.
A pleasure.
Jori Epstein, everybody. Inside Coverage. We are back with another show at 3 p.m. Eastern Time on Wednesday. We'll see you then.